Welcome to the version of Pamphlet. My name is Robert. I'm the host of this one-man show, coming to you every Monday, 6 a.m. UK time. So, watch out for any new episodes. Apologies for not posting last Monday, but I've been traveling and I couldn't record much. And of course, because I'm very unlucky as usual, Taylor Swift released her very, very highly anticipated album, 12th album actually, called The Life of a Showgirl. So today, actually, but in a way, it's sort of a blessing in disguise because I did not expect the album to be received in such a polarizing way from the fans and critics alike. So it gave me a good week to just sit with the album and contemplate what I think about the album, to be fair, specifically, and also just look back on what happened in this past week, because the first week of release, I guess, is just the most important one. So yeah, here we go. Now, sorry, jumping on it basically. I want to say the album itself. I want to talk about specifically the album itself and how I feel about it, and sort of trying to navigate why it's been received like so, like, weirdly. I guess it's a very weird release because like a release week, because like it's the album has turned out to be the best-selling album on the Billboard charts. Basically, like it surpassed Adele's 25 and now holds like a 4 million unit overall. I think of which like 3.5 or more than that, I think, is pure physical albums. So that's crazy. Like, that's actually insane. So clearly people are really listening to this. And then of course the Fate of Ophelia, the main title track of the album, like the first single of the album, garnered it broke so many different records. Like, it's the fastest song to reach 100 million streams on Spotify, fastest song to just break so many of, of these records that were previously held by Flowers by Miley Cyrus. But overall, just an incredible release week, and even all the other songs have been doing super well. The album already has in 1 week reached 1 billion streams overall, which is insane, and it's looking like she's gonna occupy the top 10 at least of the Billboard Hot 100. So, and definitely looking at, of course, opening as the first album of the of the week, like number one album. And she also released during the weekend an accompanying movie, basically, which was basically the behind the scenes of the album and the premiere of the single, or the music video for the single, which is The Fate of Ophelia. And that also, she also managed to get the number one movie of the week on that single weekend that she played the movie for. So impressive. So number one at the box office, number one on the charts, number one in the streaming platforms as well. She's the number one artist on Spotify at the moment. So just incredible in terms of streams. Like, she just devoured, basically. It's crazy. Now, before I get into the tracks themselves, I really want to talk about this, like, divisiveness, and I guess we'll look at it. We'll look at it even further, I guess, when we get into the tracks specifically, because some songs specifically are the ones that also have created a lot of chatter and a polarizing, reception of the album. So, let's get into it. So, I think I thought about this quite a long time, basically, and my personal thoughts on the album are that I really enjoy it for exactly what it is, which is and what I expected it to be, which is sort of like a very arm's length, generic, no, not generic in a bad way, but more like pop general in that sense, nothing too specific in terms of content, right? And it gave us so many good melodies and tracks, nothing too write home about in terms of lyrical content or content itself as well. just, a very fun pop album. Very happy overall in terms of tone. So sort of like akin to Lover a bit, and a bit of 1989, I would say, and a bit of Reputation. That's what it sits, I think, for me specifically. So I thoroughly, well, I would say I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's, of course, my favorite Taylor Swift album of all time, but also it's very early on. But I would say it served its purpose for what it was, and I really, really enjoyed several of the songs. I think that the biggest problem here, to me, for me specifically, is the fact that the album itself doesn't really cover much of the I guess, like the theme of the album, which is supposed to be like a look behind the curtain. I mean, I've seen many people argue that the album being filled with a lot of love songs to Travis Kelce is the life of a showgirl, is a look behind the curtain. But I would counter argue, say, like, yes, part of that is, sorry, part of the look behind, is like part of her life behind the scenes of the Eras tour is her falling in love with Travis Kelce, but we haven't really gotten much else. There's a couple of songs that talk about something different, of course, like Actually Romantic, and there was also, what was it called? Oh my god, it's escaping me already. But Father Figure is a bit different, I guess. There's also, Wish List, I guess, is still about Travis Kelce. Wood is still about Travis Kelce. Cancelled is a bit of interesting one, and then we have, of course, Ruin the Friendship, which is different. But so I think I was expecting a bit more of showgirlism in this, meaning that a bit of more of a reflection on the Eras tour and the heights of her fame, a bit more of a commentary on fame specifically, right? A la Blank Space or anything else. And I think the only song that really, really covers that is the Life of a Showgirl song, specifically with Sabrina Carpenter. Everything else is a bit more, like, removed from that. It's more, I love Travis, and then this track, and then my friends are a sleigh, and I miss this person very important to me that died when I was young. Like, that's it. So there's more, I guess, private life in terms of like love life situation than anything else, and I think there's little commentary on the massive fame that she's received, which is, to me, the only really I don't want to say a big problem. It is quite of a problem in terms of what the visuals gave us and what the content is, right? And I also feel like the visuals gave us a certain vision, and the sound of it was not necessarily what could have been in that sense, like cabaret or like burlesque type of sound, but instead went for a more palatable sound, which I sort of can understand, and I do get behind, to be fair. Like, she did want to have like a smash, radio hit and radio album hit in that sense. So, and it looks like she did accomplish that. So clearly that worked. But yeah, I think the biggest problem, though, the biggest reason why it's so polarizing, I think, is because part of it is because, like, I think the fandom has become so big and the general public is so interested in this album that the fandom has been fractured in so many different niches, simply because, like, she's that big of an artist now. Like, she's so massive that her fandom now is fractured into so many different little niches that all want something different. There were people who were really wanting something folklorian, which honestly you already received it with the Torture Boys Department, so I don't get that criticism personally. People are saying, like, oh, I expected better lyrics, better, deeper meanings to it. It's very surface level, very, they're calling the lyrics bad, but I think it's, I sort of did not expect her to write her best album with this, frankly. Like, my favorite album, if you listen to my previous episode, is 1989, and 1989 is very good writing wise, but also it's not that complicated of an album. It's very actually surface level and very simple of an album, very simple concept, very simple lyrics. So I did not expect this album to have anything in terms of deep lyrical, meaning. Some of the lyrics here are actually, there are some clunkers, I would say, for sure, quite a few. But there's also quite a few good lyrics here that I think people are not really talking about, and I'm very, very sad about it. But yeah, so I think part of it is definitely the fractured album situation, fractured fandom situation here, because I think everyone is expecting a bit of a different thing from her, and she'll never be able to, I think, appease the entirety of the fandom. But what really surprised me the most is that despite all this chatter, the general public itself is really getting behind this album. Like, they're really streaming. Like, the album is being streamed anyways, like, so much more than any other album, because she's broken all of her, also her own records. So clearly something is clicking with the general public, and I think probably that's what she wanted anyways, because I think it's a very interesting situation, because Torture Points Department was very much for the Swifties, and the ones that were very involved in the lore specifically was very Swiftie central, right? And general public was not, it was not a very accessible album for the general public. Well, this is quite the opposite way around. It's more about appeasing the general public and getting the most palatable and like digestible album possible, and that sort of is being accomplished here. So like, most of the songs here are very easy to listen to, very easy to replay, and very easy to like to sing, to hum and all that stuff. So clearly whatever she had in mind worked. I think also there's a problem with the expectations. I said, like, some people were expecting the sound to be so different, and it didn't necessarily get to that. But again, she never talked about that anyways, but the visuals did communicate something different, to be fair. So that's that. I think, to be fair, the biggest teller of it all should have been the cover, because in hindsight, the cover art being a basically a reference to the fate of Ophelia, that should have been a teller of what the album was going to be about, because it is about her love life, right? So it is that. So yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration and different takes on the album, but I also think people are overreacting in both ways, in the sense that some people are calling it the best album ever made, and it's far from being that, let me tell you that. But also, I don't think it's that big of a clunker that the people are trying to make it out to be. Like, it's actually a pretty decent album. There's a pretty good track run also at the beginning. I think there's some solid numbers here. Definitely a couple of songs that I'm gonna skip, but I think overall it's a pretty solid album, and I think it's very fun, it's very happy, it's very different from what we had before, the album before, so in terms of tone and message. So I'm very happy with it. I'm streaming it, I'm turning it on, thank you very much, and I'm very happy with what I received. So yeah, but let's get into the songs. Like, okay, so the first track is, as I said, The Fate of Ophelia, and this is slowly becoming such a fantastic hit. Like, the chorus is just so, the melody is just so bloody catchy, and this song is basically a reference to The Fate of Ophelia, the Hamlet heroine, right? Ophelia basically, after the solution of her love affair with Hamlet, goes into descends into madness and drowns by accident into a river, and is turned basically into a metaphor of, like, in general, people, when they study Hamlet, is a metaphor of like how the patriarchy pushes women to the edge, and is sometimes like a heartbreaking situation that many women have to go through in their lives, and it's quite powerful. But I think the way she changed it was quite interesting, in the sense that there's a lot of parallels between her and Ophelia, and it mirrors also what happened to her during the Eras tour. So yeah, that was quite the perfect match in terms of metaphor and everything else. Like, this, she was in a very the solution of the Torture Poets Department was that it's a perfect bridge between Torture Poets and this album, right? She was in a very very low point after the dissolution of her love affair with Maddie Healy, and I think she changes the ending of the story by saying that Travis Kelce swooped in and saved her from the fate of Ophelia. Now, many people are taking issue with this in terms of messaging because they're saying it's anti-feminist, that she's putting it on the man to save her from her heartbreak. But I think y'all are being too, and this is the problem with a lot of the critics that I'm seeing, and they are being too boring. Like, just have fun. This is supposed to be a love song, and you know, there's nothing wrong with like. And I think also I would counter argue that this, what y'all are saying, is anti-feminist, because feminism, we've moved away from first and second wave feminism. Feminism is to let women do and speak and talk about whatever the fuck they want and interpret, you know, the relationship with men in a very, you know, like independent way, right? Like, if you, what you're trying to do is instead control the way that she's supposed to look at love, and she doesn't want to look at it that way. This is the same girl who wrote Love Story, right? Like, it's just that she, you know, and also it's a very cute love song. It's a very nice love song because it is about, you know, her finding the love of her life possibly, and finally thinking that she escaped fate. If you know anything about the Torture Poets Department, there's a lot of discussion there about fate and how she's dwarfed by her experiences in life, because it seems that she can never find someone who actually matches her energy and her lifestyle in that sense, because she's so massive as a pop star that it's so difficult to find someone who doesn't have any further interest in her apart from loving her, and it's so difficult to keep it up, right? And Travis, you know, now they're getting married and all that stuff, it seems that he's taken the boxes for her, and he did swoop in and offer her a different side, you know, of, he's also very different from all of our exes. Like, he's a very different type of person, and clearly this is like, you know, a celebration of that. And I don't think we need to be so negative and start throwing it, like, you know, trying to cancel any possible song that doesn't align with your you know, ideology. You know, I also don't care too much about a partner coming in and saving your life and all that stuff, like saving your quote unquote life, because, you know, they, you know, giving agency to people like this. But also, I don't give a fuck, in the sense that this is a very romantic song, and she's more than, you know, she should be more than free to talk about whatever she wants. Y'all clearly are not, you know, accepting the you know, the facts as they are. Like, it's just the way it is, you know. It's not the end of the world. It's just a very cute love song, and I think you should all just listen to it in that capacity. So, bye. Elizabeth Taylor, next song, such a Reputation throwback, so cool. Really enjoyed it. So fucking cool. Might be one of my other favorite ones. She here draws parallels with Elizabeth Taylor herself, of course, in terms of being, you know, a woman that has been through many different relationships and her love life has been scrutinized by the media a lot, and she's just like trying. The song is sort of like a dialogue between her and Elizabeth Taylor, asking her, do you think it's forever? Do you think this you know, situation of mine is gonna be forever? She's wondering, I mean, the new relationship she's in, like with Travis, like, do you think he's also gonna leave me like anyone else? So that's quite interesting to me personally. It's quite cool. The production is very snappy and very Reputation-y, very theatrical, if I have to be honest. So really enjoyed that. Very cool. She could have done a bit more, I guess, in like the parallels between her and Elizabeth Taylor. That's what my bone to pick is. She could have done more in terms of showgirlism. It is more like love story specifically related, but like, you know, she's not specifically talking about her in the capacity of being like a massive, you know, celebrity and fame itself. So yeah, it is quite interesting, you know. So I wish she could have done more of that, but overall, very catchy and very cool. Opalite is also a great hit. And again, you know, it's about like making your own happiness, and you know, happiness sometimes is man-made. You cannot just like be passive about it and wait for it to come to your door. You just sometimes have to be like, you know, choosing your happiness, and sometimes life is not as it, you know, as it could be, as it pans out to be. Sometimes it's just the way it is. So that's quite interesting to me. I really like it. The vibe of this album so far is like very guitar heavy, like which I personally so love, and I have been missed in music. So very cool, and this is an excellent example of that. Very cool. Really enjoyed it. Father Figure, very interesting. There's a lot of chatter here about who it could be about. I personally think it's about Joe Alwyn, but according to her, it's like just a character study about being, a relationship between like this man and a protege, right? Or like being the one in a power position, right? And how relationships can change, and you can she's taking the side of this father figure, right? Like, to explore how power dynamics are often played out in the entertainment industry, I guess sometimes. But again, it doesn't really have to do anything with her life, I think, like in terms of herself being in that position, like her being the protege in this sense anymore. But I think she's trying to say that, she was the bigger one out of her and Joe Alwyn, in my opinion. And she, after, she was saying, like, the only thing I ask is your loyalty, right? And as soon as you break that, I'm going to revoke the keys to the castle, and that's it. So bye. This song is very Christmassy to me. I don't know why, but it is. It really is. There's a lot of very cool lyricism in here. I think you should really pine for the lyrics here. You know, it's quite interesting track overall, I think. Then we have Eldest Daughter, which is probably the worst written song she's ever made, to be fair. Just doesn't really work that well. Like, she talks about so many different things in the song that don't really mesh well and don't really connect to each other, so I don't even know why she's doing all that. But yeah, like, what is it, like, I'm not a bad bitch, then this isn't savage. I'm never gonna let you down. I'm never gonna leave you out. So many traitors, move operators, but never gonna break that vow. I'm never gonna leave you. She talks about Travis, and then she goes into, every eldest daughter was the first lamb to the slaughter. So we all dressed up as wolves and we looked fire. Like, what does that have to do anything with the rest of the song? I don't get it. And then she talks about, time lapse and all that stuff, and shimmers that, like, it's just weird. Every youngest child felt that we were raised up in the wild, but now you're home. Like, I don't get it. I just don't fucking get it personally, but it's whatever. I don't really listen to that. Ruin the Friendship is, like, sonically very quintessential Taylor Swift Don't Speak Now version specifically, so it's very dear to my heart. The content itself is about her friend who died in high school, I think. She also dedicated another song to him, I think Forever Winter was it. People are taking issue with it in the sense that she's condoning quote unquote cheating, but I think it's just, having a high school crush. She's reminiscing about that and saying, should check the chance and just go for a man, even, well, she was saying, I should have gone for this person. I know he was dating someone else, but I should have just, like, kissed him, because then now I wouldn't have any regrets about that, right? So I don't think she's necessarily endorsing cheating. She's just saying, I wish I could have been more brave with you, and I would have confessed my feelings and, been more open with you about what I felt for you, because now that's impossible for me to talk to you about that. So it's actually very, very sad, and I kind of really enjoy this track, to be fair. It's actually quite cool. Actually Romantic, now we have to talk about that, because that's quite the guess here, the drama. People are saying that well, this is, of course, I think we can all agree it's about Charlie XCX, and she sort of, I think lyrically it is actually very clever. I think it's actually very, very clever, and she's turning the idea on its head, saying that all the attention that this person has given her for all these years, talking about her behind her back and all that stuff, is actually quite romantic. It's actually quite endearing, because no other man has ever loved her the way she has, this figure has, right? Because all the attention that she's given. So it's quite a cunty response in my opinion. People are saying it's weak and it's weird and it's not a good diss track or whatever, but I think it's actually quite smart. I think, like, y'all are just being haters for no reason, because this actually, I think, quite interesting. I don't really care about the drama itself personally, because I love both Charlie and Taylor as artists in that sense. I don't really care about what happens between them behind closed doors, and I think Taylor has every right to reply if she wants, because at the end of the day, she's a massive figure, but she's always expected to just take the high road and never talk about what she's bothered by in that sense, right? And this clearly annoyed her a bit, and she just, went for it. And there must be also other stuff behind the scenes that we haven't heard of, right? And she's clearly basing it on that as well. So I don't care. She has every right to speak about it. So go Queen. Now, Wishlist, I don't really care about this song personally that much. Saying like, everyone wants, their yachts and all that stuff and all those material things and all that, and then but I just want you, right? And that's cool and that deep. But I think also it's a bit slightly tone deaf ish, because of the times that we're in. So I wouldn't really listen to it now. Maybe in another time in my life it will, but at the moment I'm not turning it up. Would That's not a very controversial, perhaps maybe the most controversial song here, cited as the worst song she's ever written, and I am a Wood stan. You'll never change my mind about the song, because to me it's a silly little track about, you know, playing innuendos with your lyrics, and it's about superstition, but also, knock on wood and all that stuff. But she also talks about Travis Kelce's sort of gifts. Let's just say that. Always gifted in that department. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. Like, y'all are so prude. And I think the main problem here is also because, like, she's always been quite the censored lyricist in that sense about these things. Like, she's never gone super crass about anything. And this being her first proper crassy moment in her catalog is scaring people off so badly, and I don't fucking get it, because I think it's actually quite fun, quite tongue-in-cheek, and quite, quite the vibe. And I don't really care. Like, I don't really care about that. Like, y'all are just, idolizing, you think you have a specific idea about Taylor Swift in your head, and you're letting that dictate how you receive the songs. I couldn't care less. Any other person could have released a song and I would have bopped to it anyways. And I don't have any expectations about her. Actually, I think it's actually like quite new and fresh. She's been quite sassy throughout this entire album. Like, even in Actually Romantic, she's like, all of the attention is making her wet and all that stuff. Like, she's being very crassy in this album, which is, and quite, tongue-in-cheek here, which I actually think it sets the album apart. It's actually supposed to be seen as a strength rather than a weakness. So I personally loves it. Cancelled, we're gonna not talk about that, because that's also, I think, when it's the tracks that I don't really listen to, I don't really like it lyrically, I don't really like it sonically. I think it's sort of an endorsement about her friends who have been quote-unquote cancelled. It's just a good thing. I like my friends cancelled, covering Gucci or whatever and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't really relate to that, I don't really care, and I don't want to listen to it. So that's the clunker for me. Honey is a very cute track. I actually do really like it. I really like the way it changes in the chorus and all. Very cool track. Very cool track. So it's a yes for me personally. And then we have The Life of a Showgirl, which is also another acoustic number here with Sabrina Carpenter. And this is the only track that I think properly talks about what it means for Taylor Swift to be a showgirl. So pretty slate to me personally. I really, really enjoy that. Very cute. I don't really listen to it that often, but I think it's quite a track. So slayage, very slay, very, very slay. So those are my very quick thoughts about the album, and I think people need to just like chill out a bit more and just take it as a fun album rather than something very, very serious and project all their ideas onto this. It's a pop album. It's supposed to be surface level. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be boppy and all that stuff. So just, take a chill pill, enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, just don't tune in and just don't say mean things, right? So that's that. Anyways, this is it for this portion. So see ya. Bye. Hello, friends. You know that feeling that you get when you want steady energy, no jitters, no crash, just clear focus? Well, that's exactly what I get from Mantra Matcha. Mantra Matcha offers super premium ceremonial matcha sourced straight from a private hillside farm in Uji, Japan. It's made from the youngest, most tender tea leaves, shade grown and stone ground to preserve all the vibrant color and smooth, naturally sweet flavor. And get this, ceremonial matcha has 137 times more antioxidants than regular green tea. It supports heart health, boosts metabolism, and helps you feel calm and focused. Honestly, it's like wellness in a cup. But what really makes Mantra Matcha stand out to me personally are the different 6 superfood infused flavors. You can try banana cacao matcha, strawberry lemon matcha, or cinnamon goji berry matcha as well. They even have a superfood berry ginger beet and rose hip dragon fruit as well. Each one is packed with clean organic ingredients like turmeric, ginger, goji berries for extra nutrients and flavor. It's all organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, and zero sugar, of course, so it fits right into any clean lifestyle that you are currently leading. So enjoy it hot, iced, or even in a smoothie. Actually, quite good. And here's something I love. Every purchase helps provide a meal to a child in need through No Kid Hungry. So head over to mantramatcha.com. It's mantra matcha.com, and use my promo code for the highest exclusive discount they offer anywhere, which is 15% off. And my discount code is Overshare Pamphlet. I repeat, Overshare Pamphlet for 15% off. Mantramatcha.com. Fuel your focus, boost your mood, and make Mantra Matcha part of your daily ritual. Trust me, your mind and body will thank you. Right, so before I leave you off for good for this episode, I do want to share some songs, and I am, of course, referring to the songs of the week, and these songs will go into the playlist of October 2025. You can find it anywhere on Spotify only, to be fair, but you can just simply search the Overshare Pamphlet songs of the week dash whatever month and year we're in. So it's going to be October 2025. Of course, we'll have a couple of songs from the Taylor Swift album, The Life of a Showgirl, because we talked already about it. So you'll see some of my favorite songs in there. So I'm gonna skip that part, of course, but I will talk about some other songs as well right now, which are, well, 2 songs from this specific album called After the Fact, and it's the title track After the Fact, and it's the other song called Leave Me Out of It by Sid Taylor. And they're both very similar in terms of vibe and also in terms of lyrics. They're both about, like, not wanting to be not wanting to be like a second choice or, a side hoe, basically, and wanting to be the main girl in a relationship. So, very funny lyrics, very cocky lyrics, very confident, honestly, as a song. Both songs, to be fair. I really like both. They're really, really good. They've been a repeat, and Sid Taylor, I don't know much about them, but I'm just always so impressed. The way it sounds is like very. It's like the sound itself is like almost like Amy Winehouse adjacent almost, but a bit more rock, I guess. And her delivery instead is just gorgeous, Gorgina George. It's just so good. Like very grungy and very gritty in terms of the vocal delivery. So yeah, I hope if you like anything of the sort, I think you should check it out, of course. I'll put them in a playlist, of course. In a playlist. Now, then I want to also add this song called Kiss French. And this is very like Lana Del Rey coded, but hear me out. It's by Mermaids on Mars. But it is very Lana Del Rey, like ultraviolence. Born Today, actually, maybe probably more. But it has a bit of a French instrument, like a little saxophone, I think, throughout the song, and it's very, very cool. I really, really enjoy it. I really think you guys should listen to this, but I mean, cannot force you to do anything, but if you like what's like, Lana Del Rey type of songs, this could be for you. So just give it a go. Maybe you will enjoy it. I'm sure you would. I mean, I think also the lyrics are not too specific, to be fair. So I think if you like something a bit more easy on the ear, but still quite like Lana reminiscent, I think this is it. Should definitely tickle your interest. So check it out. Then I also have another song that I want to talk about, which is Reunite by Ali X. Very interesting song. I don't even know how to like describe it properly, but the intro and some parts of the instrumentals are like old, like I'm talking about very, very old piano pieces. Like, I don't know why my mind is like Pride and Prejudice, but I can't explain it. I can't explain it, but it's just like very old piano sounds. It's just weird. But and then it turns into this like very interesting pop song that is very synthy produced, but super cool, very catchy. Alex always surprises me in terms of like how she can write very catchy songs. Like it's just so catchy. So I would recommend listening to this. It's definitely worth the listen. So check it out. Check it out. And that concludes my my songs of the week. Please check it out on Spotify, Overshare Pamphlet, Songs of the Week October 2025. And I'll see you next week with more songs and more topics to discuss.